Welcome back. In this new video, I'm going to be sharing the story of Gladys West, the hidden figure who pioneered GPS technology. This is the extraordinary story of this woman. In the 1950s, in a quiet military base in Virginia, United States, a young black mathematician sat at her desk surrounded by stacks of punch card data and endless rows of numbers. Her name was Gladys West, and the few people around there knew she was changing how the entire planet would one day move. She had grown up on a small farm where opportunity was scarce and expectation were low. But Gladys carried one belief that never left her. Education could redraw any map. She earned a scholarship, studied mathematics, and worked in a world that rarely welcomed women and almost never women of color. At the United States Naval Proving Ground, she worked with a team calculating the shape of the Earth, so satellites could orbit more precisely. Each figure she entered, each correction she made, refined a model of the globe so accurate that decades later it became the foundation of something the world would come to rely on every hour or every day, the global positioning system. There were no awards waiting for her, no headlines, just the quiet hum of machines, the scratch of pencils, and a woman who refused to let a brilliance be silenced. Years later, when smartphones began telling people where they were, no one thought about the woman who mapped that possibility into existence. But Gladys West knew what it meant to find the direction, not just on a map, but in life itself. She once said, "We didn't think about making history, we just did our work." Today, every time someone finds their way home, they are guided by a woman who once sat alone in a lab, charting the planet by hand, believing that knowledge could move the world forward, one calculation at a time. If you rely on your GPS for direction, you can thank a mathematician whose little-known contribution to the mathematical modeling of the Earth recently earned one of the United States Air Force's highest honors, induction into the Space and Missile Pioneers Hall of Fame. Dr. Gladys West, like the human computers at NASA, who became famous with the book Hidden Figures, began a career by performing the complex and calculation required before the computer age. However, a greatest accomplishment was the creation of an extremely detailed geodetic model of the Earth, which became the foundation for the global positioning system. Although GPS is ubiquitous today, West says that in the moment she wasn't thinking about the future. When you are working every day, you are not thinking, what impact is this going to have on the world, she says. You are thinking, I've got to get this right. West was born in October 27, 1930, in a rural Virginia community of sharecroppers. But from an early age, she had ambition to go beyond the farm or factory work. I thought at first, I need to go to the city. I thought that would get me out of the country and out of the fields, she remembers. But then, as I got more educated, went into the higher grades, I learned that education was the thing to get me out. West was valedictorian, in her high school, which won her scholarship to attend Virginia State College. There she became one of the only a handful of women study mathematics. You felt a little bit different, she later reflected. You didn't quite fit in as you did in home economics. West taught for several years after graduation and then accepted a position at a naval surface warfare center in Dahlgren, Virginia in 1956. Only the second black woman they had ever hired. Analyzing data from satellites meant math on paper. We could come in and sit at our desk, and we would logic away, go through all the steps anyone would have to do to solve the mathematical problem. But when computer entered the scene, it meant learning how to program and being ready to catch the computer's mistakes. 9 times out of 10, they went completely right, she recalls. So you had to analyze them and find out what was different to what you expected. West was involved in an award-winning astronomical study in the early 1960s that showed how Pluto moved relative to Neptune, and her department had recommended her for a new role as a project manager for the CSAT radar altimetry project involving the first Earth-orbiting satellite that could remotely sense oceans. The CSAT project became the jumping-off point for further satellite modeling of the globe, and from the mid-1970s through the 1980s, West worked on programming an IBM 7030 stretch computer, which with increasingly refined algorithms. She was then able to create an extremely accurate geodetic Earth model, even factoring in details like gravitational and tidal forces that slightly change the Earth's shape. This model would later become the foundation for the GPS satellite system, which is widely used today for countless applications from navigation to communication. However, after West retired from her post in 1998, her contribution to GPS were largely forgotten. West wasn't idle in retirement, although a stroke temporarily slowed her down. While she was recovering, she set a new goal. All of a sudden, these words came into my head. You can't stay in the bed. You've got to get up from here and get your PhD. She became Dr. West in 2018, thanks to a remote studies program with Virginia Tech. Then a story resurfaced after she wrote a short biography for an Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority event, recognizing senior members of the group. Fellow members Wayne James, who had known West for 15 years, was amazed to hear about a friend's career and quickly started spreading the word. I think her story is amazing. In 2017, Captain Godfrey Wickes, then the commander of the Dahlgren Division, wrote an article for Black History Month about the integral role West played in the development of GPS. observing that she rose through the ranks, worked on the satellite geodesy, and contributed to the accuracy of a GPS and the measurement of satellite data. As Gladys West started a career as a mathematician at Dahlgren in 1956, she likely had no idea that her work could impact the world for decades to come. On December 6, 2018, West was inducted into the United States Air Force Hall of Fame, hailed her as one of the leaders of the early years of the Air Force space program. West says that she hopes her example will inspire another generation of female pioneers. I think I did help, she reflects. The world is opening up a little bit and making it easier for women, but they still gotta fight. And this is the short but extraordinary story of this talented woman. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye. See you in the next video.